At it again, and we've got to talk about Chiraq, aka Chicago. Things getting a little crazy there. Like, share, comment, and hit that subscribe button if you are new. And let's dive in.
A Chicago City Council meeting was raw and real. Residents tore into city leaders over the 35,000 illegal immigrants who have poured into Chicago, and the city is on a spending spree for those people who broke our laws to get here. Critics are accusing the city of prioritizing border crossers over minority communities in particular.
Get them out of our communities because they don't deserve to be there.
Downtown has 3 to 4 illegal families on every block begging for work and selling Kit Kat bars after $1 billion was spent on them. Where is that money? Where is the money for the South Side and the West Side communities? Not another dollar for the illegals. If the crisis is so bad, the city council members who are so concerned should donate their salaries to the cause like a real public servant should.
That's from a recent, yesterday it was breaking live during this hour. That's from that city council meeting. And we couldn't see everybody, but we played it for you anyway. Now we have so much more of it to play.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. I think that's a great idea. Maybe these politicians that are pushing for this should donate towards the cause. Since you care about these folks so much, put your own money where your mouth is. Why are you taking advantage of the Chicago taxpayers? All of these politicians who are pushing this on these Chicago residents who are clearly saying, hey, we don't want this. All of these politicians should put their money where their mouth is. It's not right to take advantage of the Chicago residents. And yeah, we could say, hey, this is what Chicago residents voted for, blah, blah, blah. Sure. But still, what Democrats are doing to them is not right. I think we can all agree on that fact, right? It's not right. And in order for them to continue this at this rate, they're going to be taxing the residents even more. Because anybody smart with money, right? Because we can talk about, Democrats like to say, pay your fair share. But what they fail to talk about is how a lot of these Democrats are the ones that voted for these tax loopholes and things that the rich and wealthy use and capitalize on. And Uncle Trump called out Hillary. There's a famous clip of that. Right, of Hillary saying, oh, yeah, he doesn't pay his fair share or something along those lines. She was talking about his taxes, and Trump said, basically, in layman's terms, right, yeah, you're right, I don't. And I don't because of the loopholes that you voted for, that you passed. And I know you won't repeal them because the people that donate to your campaigns are the ones that want those tax breaks, so you're not going to get rid of them. And Trump was right. But let's continue
on. Illinois has spent more than $1 billion of Chicago tax money already on the people who are there. So the Illinois governor thinks he has the answer to it all. He's blaming Texas.
And before they get into that, that is absolutely ridiculous. Where was this money for the residents of Chicago? Like that in and of itself should let people know these Democrats do not care. All of a sudden, when all these other folks show up, they got all this money now. But before they ain't really have money. Sorry, we can't do anything now. It's not in the budget. But now all of these illegals show up. Now it's all of a sudden in the budget. Kind of interesting how that works. Let's hear the governor.
Abbott willfully planned the arrival of these individuals in locations and at times that would engender the maximum chaos for the city of Chicago. Think about that the next time a politician from Texas wants to lecture you about being a good Christian. They shouldn't leave it to the governor of Texas, who has no goal but to sow chaos and destruction.
Bro, I love how these Democrats always point the finger at everybody else except for themselves. How many videos have we watched where illegals said they want to go to Chicago? Abbott has sent them where they wanted to go, first off. And that's a sanctuary city. They're supposed to take in those folks. That's what the sanctuary city comes from. That's what it means. You're going to take care of those residents. And so when he says, oh, well, he's being strategic and trying to stoke chaos. Okay, Governor Pritzker, how do you think Texas feels right now? You think Texas is just supposed to just take the short end of the stick and just allow anybody and everybody to come across, and they all got to stay in Texas, and Texas and Greg Abbott is the only people or person that has to deal with the problem? Nobody else has to share the load of the issue? I'm sure Governor Pritzker would love Greg Abbott being the only person that had to deal with the issue. All of the illegals had to stay in Texas until, Texas figured it out. I'm sure Pritzker would love that. But no, you get to say, oh, we love immigrants, but as soon as you have to deal with them, oh, it's Greg Abbott's fault. Come on now, that's a load of crap. Stop it with the nonsense. We ain't buying it.
Kata Truss has lived in Chicago her entire life. Kata, how bad is it?
It's really bad. And the sentiment of most of Chicago is that of the young lady, one of the young ladies that you heard, Jessica. The sentiment of Chicagoans is the same. And I just listened to the soundbite with Governor Pritzker, who wants to blame Governor Abbott. But I think that we have to be realistic in thinking about what the state of Texas was going through before they began busing migrants here. And I don't think we really think about that. So we're looking at it now as Chicagoans receiving migrants from the state of Texas. But imagine what it must be like in that state of Texas on a daily basis where people are arriving. Our president, President Biden, has not done enough.
And as a matter of fact, Chicago is receiving just a small percentage of the people that have come across in Texas. Now, Greg Abbott has shut down the border in Texas for the most part, but Chicago received a small percentage. So, Mr. Pritzker, if you are complaining about that, I would have loved to see you switch Illinois and Texas, right? And have Illinois be on the border and Texas be where Illinois is. Now, obviously, that wouldn't work because Texas is absolutely massive, so you'd have to... But let's pretend that we could. I would love to see Pritzker handle that situation. I would love it. Who he would blame then? Be quite interesting. I'm sure he'd blame it on Republicans anyway. I'll blame it on Republicans because Republicans don't want these immigrants and we're the ones that have to deal with them. You're the ones that said you wanted them. So take them, Governor Pritzker. And don't take advantage of the Chicago taxpayers in order to do it. Isn't Pritzker a billionaire? How about, Pritzker, you donate some of your money to the cause? You're a billionaire. So you've got a lot of money. How about you hand over your wealth to the illegal immigrants so they can have a place to stay and have food to eat and money in their pockets, instead of taking that money out of the Chicago taxpayers? How about that, Pritzker?
He has not done enough to secure the borders. He has not done enough to go in and propose some legislation that he can push forth himself to change this situation. And I'm telling you, we're so angry here in Chicago, which has been a Democratic stronghold for most of its eternity. This year, we're working to turn Chicago red. We are so angry with Pritzker and with President Biden and with our mayor that we have decided that we're going to vote Republican this time around. Wow. That's just how angry we are. We are so angry that we are willing and going to turn our backs on the Democratic Party. I sat in some of those city council meetings and I looked at and I watched the aldermen totally disregard the voices of the people. And when I was going down there, we were coming down every week in the hundreds. And what we said did not matter. And when we were talking about changing Chicago's status as a sanctuary city, and keep in mind, we still have a right to do that. Just like Biden has the right to put forth an executive order to change the crisis at the border, Chicago's mayor has the right to put forth an executive order to change Chicago's sanctuary city.
Will he do it?
Of course he will not do it. If he was going to do it, it would have been done. And remember, there was a vote within City Council where the ordinance to change it was strucken down. And the mayor was the deciding vote.
Okay, so I want to play just a little bit. It's actually a clip from your Democratic mayor, Brandon Johnson, just after that City Council meeting yesterday that got pretty chippy. And at the end of the day, he is the one you are counting on in all of this, as you just said. It's his vote. It's his, in those meetings, it's his voice. It's his leadership that matters. Let's watch.
We're grateful that the state and the county is working towards providing more investments, even though we have to have a more substantive conversation about where those dollars will actually go.
So I just have one question. Chicago had a choice after Lori Lightfoot, who was breaking COVID protocols to go get her hair done and all sorts of things. They didn't have to go farther left with Brandon Johnson. Why did you vote for him?
I voted for Brandon Johnson because I knew him. I voted for Brandon Johnson because I thought that he would be good for Chicago. I voted for Brandon Johnson because, really, I didn't do my homework. Because had I done my homework and paid attention to the alliances and...
Bing, 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 bing. Winner, 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 chicken dinner. Okay. I think that is a major issue, especially amongst black folks. We don't do our homework. Especially, like I said, amongst black folks. We see Brandon Johnson is a black guy, and we understand he's a Democrat. And a lot of the times, unfortunately, that's all we need to hear and see. And that is a major part of the problem. Major part of it. You just heard her admit to it right there, and that's okay, right? That's okay. As long as we learn from the lessons of the past, that's all right. Just learn the lesson and move forward, okay? Let's not look at skin color. Let's not look at the letter next to people's names, and let's actually vote on policies and not skin color or the letter next to someone's name. Because if we're being honest, as black people, the way that a lot of us were raised lines up more with Republicans than it does Democrats. You go to the hood and you talk about some of these Democrat policies, right? Some of the policies that Democrats push, bro, you getting run off the block. You get run off the block. Don't just say you're a Democrat. Say what policies you're actually pushing for, and you're going to get ran off of the block. Okay? And in some cases, you might get beat up, right? Anybody from the hood knows what I'm talking about? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay? And so it's time that we get away from skin color and race and back to policy. Then Chicago will become the great city it can be. But until then, it's going to continue being what it is. Chirac. But I'll be quiet.
Who he was with
boy.
and who groomed him, I would have known better, and I would have voted differently. And that brings me to the challenge of really standing up and not just saying to Chicagoans or Illinoisans, but to all voters in this country, it is time for us to stand up and to vote our self-interest. We vote along party lines, especially as African Americans, and that needs to change. We need to start voting
Facts.
for people who are going to promote our self-interest. And that
Yes,
may
ma'am.
not be a Democrat, and it may not be a Republican. It may be an independent candidate. It may be a Green Party candidate. But I think that now we have come to a point in this country where we have to stop marrying ourselves to party, stop voting along ethnic lines, because
Facts.
we're seeing that that is not working for us. And so that is why I will be voting Republican for the first time.
Wow. That is a lot.
Proud of you,
That's
ma'am.
a lot of change.
Proud of you.
And it only took 3 years with one president to undo what you said, a lifetime of Democratic voting in Chicago, at least for you. Does it make a difference if Republicans come to see you this election cycle and talk about this issue on the ground in Chicago?
I think the Republicans need to come and see us. I think they need to come and talk to us because let me just say this, that the Republican Party has not been spotless, and there are certainly some issues that we would love to discuss with them that I think that we can have some common ground on. I
Okay.
think that we can agree to be disagreeable on some issues, but yes, this is the perfect time for the Republican Party to come into the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, and sit down and talk to the people because we are looking for change.
Carter Trust, God bless you.
You love to hear it, don't you? You love to hear it. I'm going to have to use this camera because my big camera overheated, apparently. Yeah, you love to hear it, right? You know, folks waking up and realizing the truth. And I can definitely relate to that because I was once there. Been well known. I've made no secret of it, right? And so when you see situations like this, you can't help but do anything but just be happy and be proud of folks like this lady here who said, what is her name actually? I'm not sure how to properly pronounce that. I don't want to, is it Kata Trust? Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, I apologize. But you know, it just makes you happy and proud to see folks like that, right? That, you know, have realized the error in their ways and have recognized, yo, it's time to stop voting on straight up, you know, party lines, because that hasn't worked, right? We all know the definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. It ain't gonna change, right? You've seen Chicago decline year after year after year, and nothing has changed, and you voted for the same party time after time after time, the same party that has said, hey, we're gonna help you out, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and every time that they can't, they always point the finger at Republicans. Oh, Republicans, oh, Republicans, oh, Republicans, oh, Republicans. Aren't you tired of that? Aren't you tired? You know, like you know, and I always use the you know, McDonald's situation, right? If you pulled up to McDonald's, you pulled up to the order window, you ordered your food, you pulled up to the next window, you paid for your food, and then you pulled up to the third window and they said, I'm sorry, Burger King took all the buns, so we can't give you your food today. We got you next time. Are you going to keep going back to McDonald's? Like, we all know the answer to that question. No, I'm not going back. Nah, you gonna want your money back, but McDonald's ain't gonna give you your money back. That money's non-refundable, right? Your vote is non-refundable. You know what I'm saying? Once you cast it, you cast it. It's done. McDonald's not giving you your bread back. You just gotta go home without your food and none of your money back. You're not gonna go back there. So why do we keep going back to the Democrat Party? Right? Why do we keep going back? What's so scary about Republicans? Nothing. Nothing. Democrats have made Republicans seem like these horrible, terrible, no good, very bad people, right? In reality, it's actually the Democrats that are. Look at the situation in Chicago. We talked about a story of, you know, a school in a black neighborhood being shut down because they apparently had no money. That's what they told the black residents in that area. Oh, we've got no money to support this school anymore, so we're going to have to shut it down. All of a sudden, the illegals show up, and now all of a sudden, they got all this money, and now they can reopen the school to house the illegal immigrants. But what about the black people that have been living there and contributing to the taxes? You didn't have the money then, but now you got the money? Come on now. Come on. Like stop playing with us. Stop playing. That's what I'm saying. Get these Democrats out of office ASAP. ASAP. Bring Uncle Trump back and let's get this thing back on track for everybody. For everybody. But y'all let me know what you thought about this one in the comment section below. Like, share, comment, and hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.